Hey folks, how's it going? I was a bit surprised when the choreograph dropped and they announced Athena as the June 5 star on cap, especially since she is already pretty core in endgame setups and her kit is also already overloaded with stuff. A lot of other fire characters could have used the uncap to get a bit more time under the spotlight, like Eliza, Clarice, Colossus, Helles, Grea, Colossus, Anthuria, Zalamelina, Colossus. Still, I'm pretty happy to see what they'll give her, but I'm afraid it's going to be a very small buff like what they did for Urios. It feels like they're solidifying some ticketable characters for endgame content, so maybe they're just getting us ready for Belial's raid and the new raid series that was announced in March. So, to have a little bit of fun, I've put together a list of the FLBs I'd like to see in the near future, picking 2 characters per element, excluding the limited ones. For fire, despite my rambling on Colossus, my first pick has got to go to Grea. The Mysteria Academy student only got one event and then got shafted in favor of the backer gangs. She's been a favorite of mine ever since released and I've been relying heavily on her water version for a while as well. Any excuse to bring out her SR costume is also going to be welcome. In terms of skills, she's one of the few fire characters that has a local debuff, but hers does nothing other than enable her own CA and skill cap ups. If it were to, let's say, get a supplemental damage for all allies, she would become a pretty good teammate for Summer Kumbira and Athena, while also giving Fro a bit more of a reason to exist, since she could increase the debuff uptime to 5 out of 6 turns. The second slot is a bit more fought over. Colossus could use a special cap up and the Seraphic passive. Helles has been stuck in limbo for years now, and Zalamelina would appreciate another chance to shine. Still, my pick would be Anthuria. Rebalance was pretty good, and she's now a decent defensive support, but to be honest, I just want more of her Fate episodes and a good art upgrade. The water list opens with another Mysteria Academy character, and that is Anne. The poor girl is still waiting for her own summer version 2 after only appearing in Grea's Fate. Her kit would also need quite a massive rework, and I think she'd be fun to see as a counter-based character, maybe copying a bit of the Cavalier homework and getting a Biden incorporated in her passives. Getting more and better counters, making other allies counter as well, and increasing or supplementing counter damage just to mess with multi-hit enemies. The second water unit I would like to see an FLB for would be Kokoro. I would welcome more Gunsmith Sisters content at any time, and being quite an old unit, she could really use a bit of patching up as well. Not being able to inflict the ATA down on turn 1 or having to sacrifice her own ATA in order to do so, as well as Arms Lore only being a single target buff with a 3 out of 6 turns uptime, make her really difficult to slot in. For Earth, the list has to start with Razia. She's a Beatrix tier bully magnet and she's using a freaking gun lens. I have no idea how she's not more popular as a character, and I blame everyone's poor taste for it. She was released in 2017 and I don't think she's ever gotten a rebalance either. Her SR version expands a little bit on her story against the Church of Zayan, which was an interesting plot thread dropped in 2018. Then the Zayan religion went on to be another thing altogether, so it's possible that it was just a different thing in the Fantagrande Skydom. Not only that, the only event she's ever been in has been the Walk on the Wild Side, where she got a schoolgirl uniform alongside Therese and Ejaeli, skin that was never mentioned again. The way Cygames is mistreating this girl is just criminal, and I demand justice be done for her. For the second slot, it's a close call between Nemone and Yggdrasil, but the Choco Cat got a Christmas version recently. I'm eagerly looking forward to see a cute 5-star Fate episode filled with chime noises and hopefully plenty of Rosetta as well. While mechanically, if Yggdrasil were to get the same passive as Tiamat and Izmir, she could open this traffic slot to more or extra supplemental damage sources. For Wind, my pick would go to the last of the starter SSRs that still doesn't have her FLB, Carmelina. For her though, I'm actually hoping for a bit more than just a simple uncap. Since she's a circus performer and even as a lion in her SR version, I would very much like to see a jewelry resort event revolving around her. It would also give a bit more screen time to Therese, who feels like another forgotten character. My second pick would be Ariette. At the end of her Joining Fate episode, it's revealed that she's a spy for the Blue Knight and the Crew Enforcers, and I'm curious to see how that plot thread is going to evolve since we are pretty much allies now. The chances of it involving Monica and Lisha only make me want it even more. Her kit though would need quite the heavy rework since Summer Cora exists and Neon is going to get a new LB later this year. For Light, I've got to open with Fairy. Even if she's gotten a grand version and made a bit of an appearance in the main story quest, that was before the Utopia plotline. The Ghostly Fox has made a bit of a comeback in my team since the introduction of Relic Buster, but she could really use a bit of a power up as well. The second pick would go to Rosamia, mostly because I'm curious to see what's going to happen to her, her mask, and the search for her family now that the empire that did those experiments is gone. Also, she has a similar nuke on charge attack as Shalem, and a bit of a rebalance, tuning her echo up to 80% and maybe give her a one-turn assassin on skill 3, could make her a really great burst character. For Dark, it's two Rage of Bahamut characters, Forte and Cerberus. Forte got a nice upgrade when she was introduced into Granblue Fantasy and turned into a Draph, but I feel like they held back on her sprite a bit. Nowadays, large sprites are nothing new, and I would love to see her 5-star version ride her dragon in combat. As far as her kit goes, her crest interaction involves skill damage, something Dark is getting more and more of lately. If her attack buff was faster to stack, if her third skill would also bring Keen, if her progression was team-wide and her nuke was a multi-hit one, that would set her as a decent attack buffer for Dark. She would only need another good pattern for crest stacking. Lastly, the red-headed doggo is another victim of Sagame's injustice, having raid removed and its drop simply added to the shop. Unlike Razia, she's been part of one rebalance patch, but this was back in 2017 and it wasn't even that big of an improvement. I wouldn't expect much from her Fate episodes other than some happy-go-lucky time with her, but I would very much like it if we got to explore a bit more of the Pandemonium lore. Her kit would need a complete overhaul though. Alright then, that's my 12 picks for the Full Limit Break wishlist. Hopefully I'll get to see one or two released this year. Let me know if you've got a few characters you're waiting on yourselves down in the comments, and as always, thanks a lot for watching, and see you soon. Ciao!